History. Everything has history. One thing that may or may not surprise you, Dice Quest 2 has history. Many years of it, in fact. It all started with a TCG, and here's how it went. Over 5 years ago in elementary school, I was a kid with a lot of creativity and a lot of time on his hands. And with that comes the lack of friends. I went off to make a homemade trading card game. Well, yeah, I don't think that really helped my situation. I made it right outside of the school during recess, where every single kid goes out to go to the park. And eventually, one after another kid kept joining in and helped create these cards. This is proof that they're not imaginary. I hope that's enough. But apart from that, due to a feature in the game that involves dice, the game was eventually named Dice Quest TCG. But, of course, due to my inability of finishing projects 90% of the time, Dice Quest TCG was never finished. But later came many versions, such as one that made me start this YouTube channel. Then another to revamp it and then use my newfound skills, and so on. This went on forever. And of course, out of all the versions of the game made, not a single one of them was actually finished. Wow. That takes skill. I mean, come on, where's my award for the most unfinished projects? That's a good thing, right? Throughout the creation of the TCGs, another project was being worked on. Maybe that's why they're unfinished. Which was based off of the TCG. And it was an anime comic. Yeah, it was originally a comic of mine. It was going to be created by drawing it by hand, outlining it, then retracing it in MS Paint. I know, the greatest program ever. Look at those edges. No pixels to see here. But in the end, it ended up like all my projects from back then. Unfinished! If you haven't noticed already, Citrine hasn't been seen yet. Well, why is that? Well, he just didn't exist. It was only very late in the creation of Dice Quest that he actually came to be. So, if you didn't know, kind of obsessed with Minecraft, and it was based off a skin of mine I had back then. And of course, I didn't create the skin. I just found it online, stole it, and so technically Citrine's design is 1% stolen. I created a drawing of it and named it Citrine. Yes, this is the first ever drawing of Citrine. It's something else. The show. The show was originally a 2D animated show created by me and a few other people. Here's a drawing of a beautiful character. It's a duck, and I know, it's beautiful. Eventually, the first ever script for episode 1, the story Citrine was made. The story, to this day, is still very similar, because I'm very original, and have other stories to tell, yep. You might have noticed this little creature, and I kind of liked it, just a little. And yeah, I kind of liked it, I guess. Finally, the show got animated, but not for too long, and again, it was unfinished. And why was it unfinished? Well, I started doing 3D Lego, and I love doing it. So I transitioned the show over to 3D Lego, which once again means I must restart from scratch once again. But trust me, this was for the greater good. I was now in the free road of Lego. Just ignore it has to be Lego bricks. Oh, it's a free road, guys. After my past experiences of working on Lego projects of my own,
premium, high quality table.
The tables, man, so premium. Because of those, it was looking really good. But then I realized the scale of the project, and I realized I would need a team, or else I would spend the rest of my lifetime on the episode. Save me. So, a few people came on board to help me. In the end, we got Master Oshawott to help me with writing the script, Jambo to do the music score, and Aki to code a terrain generator. And many more people we'll talk about another time. A lot of time was put into writing this new script, especially since I had to explain everything I had in my head to Master Oshawott. But eventually, it all paid off and we were both on the same page and started writing. And 20 years later, we finally finished, yeah. And with the script finally finished, we were off to the bumpy road of actually creating the episode. Oh boy, it's gonna be interesting. I had a really strong vision of what I wanted the town to look like, and how the terrain to look as well. So here's Aki. He's the developer of the terrain generator, and he will be explaining to you the process of making it and all that. Go ahead, Aki.
It's fine to build by hand, but some things, like a base plate, are usually a waste of time to build manually. And since our team is rather small, I've decided to automate this process. The terrain generator I've made allows us to effortlessly create varied base plates with prepared space for handmade builds, and additional decorations like, for example, roads. And there are many more things yet to come.
I can't lie, that's pretty cool. So, using Aki's amazing terrain generator, I had to populate the land with an entire town. The thing is, I'm not very good at building, so I got some others to do it for me. The way I got this town building project together and organized was with two main steps. First, I created a Blender file where I made different plots and laid them out to create a town. Of course, with the addition of roads, it looked a lot more like a town. And with a total of 30 plots, I was able to use this layout to keep the builders organized. So essentially, they would just choose a plot and build it, as I would give them the info about the plot, such as what type of buildings there are around that area, and also what dimensions it has. We repeat this multiple times with all the builders until we get all the plots built. Second, I had to make sure everything fits in and has some sort of consistent style, even with all these talented builders. So I saw in the LEGO Movie 2 behind the scenes video of the builders, they used this kind of style guide thing. And basically it was for the builders to reference while building to keep a nice style. So I created one of those for the town, mostly consisting of different walls, doors, windows, roofs, and more. And I gave it to the builders for when they're building. So once all the builders were done building the plots, I put the data of each plot into Aki's terrain generator so that it could generate flat spots in the terrain where the buildings are. And also don't forget the roads too. I then added it to the town Blender file with the buildings, and boom, it's all done. I added a few crates here and there to fill in the empty spaces, but once I was done with all that, I had a horrible realization. My computer was barely handling the scene. Like seriously, if I click play, it runs at like 0.01 FPS. How can I even animate the characters interacting with the town or just in the town at all? Ugh. Well, I did eventually find a solution to this. It was a pretty painful solution, but it would pay off in the end. I had to manually create low poly versions of these buildings. So for example, here's one of the buildings. What I did was I added in a cube and moved it up one so the origin of the cube is at the bottom of it, allowing me to scale the cube to match the size of the building. I then duplicated it and changed the size of it for other parts of the building that are different sizes and like second floors and all that. And once I'm finished with all those base parts of it, I combined them all into one mesh. But there are still some other things popping out. Well, I've got to model those as well so that I don't accidentally animate a character walking and without realizing it when I go to rendering it, they were actually walking through a fence. And it's just too late to re-render it. That would just be horrible. So that's the main reason why I had to model those small details, and it really helps, such as for stairs. And that's basically how I would do it. But I now had to do this for 30 more buildings. This took forever. But once it's all over, at least I can now actually use the town and animate characters interacting with it. Yay! Oh, I now have all the terrain made, all the buildings made, and more. The town is basically done, but I need to light it and figure out how the whole town will feel and look and get it to what I imagine it to be like. So I added lights to each building and other things that needed lights. And with that, it already looks very nice, but I have to now decide on a visual style for it. Oh boy, this is gonna be difficult. You see here, I have some drawings and concept art that I made to help figure out the feel of it, but I later realized it'll be tough for me to get that style in 3D. But don't you forget, with enough effort, you could probably do the thing you thought you couldn't do. But now I'm realizing this quote is ridiculously long and isn't even a quote because I'm saying it right now, unless someone else might have already said this exact same thing before, but whatever. Oh, I forgot to breathe. So I had to figure out a good way of lighting it. So I settled upon a 3-point light setup, and it would be used as a base for lighting shots in the town. Basically, this is what I did for it. The key light will be a warmer white, so a slightly orange white to give a nice warm feel to it. Just very slightly orange, as you can see here. The backlight will be white with a slight blue tint to it. super small just to make it contrast with the warmer light. That is the main focus of the lighting, and to make sure it doesn't blend in too much with it. The fill light will be a nice red to match the atmosphere, which is reddish, which gives it a nice feel. So apart from the lighting, I have to achieve this cool mist or fog or whatever effect that the atmosphere has in my drawings. So I will use the mist pass in Blender and use it to add a red color to the image in compositing. In Nuke, the program I use to do compositing, I add the mist pass as a red color, then add in them tasty lens flares, then do some color grading to the image, tinting it a little bit red. With all that, we go from this to this. That is a big difference. It looks exactly how I imagined it to look. It matches the concept art perfectly, but you may be wondering how it looks in action. So here's the first, basically final shot from Dice Quest Episode 1 that you get to see. As the trailer wasn't even close to what I wanted it to look like and all that. Okay, whatever, here it is. This scene is from a little joke in the episode, but you'll just have to wait and see what it is. So yeah, I think that's a good spot to end this video, finally having a nice looking town. But how about the caves? Similar to the terrain, I don't think it's a good idea to make builders make giant caves by hand. So you'll see what I've been working on in the next Dice Quest devlog, and see me develop the final look for the caves. In the meantime, I'll be animating Dice Quest, so if you want to support me, please subscribe and maybe join my Patreon. You will get to see my progress on Dice Quest and watch me animate live. Plus, you get a bunch more benefits. Join now. And of course, see you next time. Bye. Thank you to all my Patreons for supporting me, and my MVP Patreons, FBV Dan and Planet.